Hello, I'm Sevil Mikhailova.
And I'm Claude Salhani, and this is This Week in Focus. And we are there almost, 60 days and counting, for the games, the Baku games that have been anticipated for such a while. The planning, the preparation, it's here.
Yes, it is here in Baku, the capital of the Land of Fire.
June 12th, 6,000 athletes, 3,000 trainers, 2,000 journalists, and thousands of tourists and spectators who will come to watch these, first of its kind, the Baku Games.
Is Baku ready for the sports, for this big sports event? We'll be joined by sports director for the organizing committee of the inaugural games.
Piers Callahan, the director of the games, is here with us, and we have questions for him. We have a lot of questions for you.
Thank you very much, Chuck's out.
Are they on track? Is everything ready? What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for having me on the show. You're right, there is a lot of anticipation in Azerbaijan, but there's also a lot of anticipation throughout Europe for the first ever European Games. This is the most positive addition to the European sporting calendar in perhaps the last 50 years in European sport. So there's a hell of a lot of anticipation around the continent of Europe. It's very opportune that you ask me today about if Baku is ready, because tomorrow we will have a test event beginning in boxing, which will take place in the Crystal Hall. And then on Thursday, a wrestling test event will begin in the newly renovated Heydar Aliyev Arena. So these events are very important to us as an organising committee for a number of reasons. But this will show us if our plans are ready, if they're on track. We can test a lot of our operations, from the sports to the athletes to the media to the venue management to the crowd control, etc. And these will give us a very good indicator of how we're ready. From my point of view, I think plans are right on track, and we're on track for having a great European Games in a little less than 2 months' time.
One quick question before I turn it over to my colleague who has a lot of questions for you. What makes these games so different from other sporting events? Well, how do they differ from the other European athletic games that have taken place all over Europe? How do they differ from the Olympics?
Yeah, it's a very, very simple question. So the first question you asked is how do they differ from, shall we say, a single sport European Championships? Well, it's very simple. In a European Athletics Championships or a European Wrestling Championships, there's only one sport. In the Baku 2015 European Games, we have 20 sports, all taking place within a 2-week period. So if you can get your head around that, effectively, I think everybody can appreciate what it's like to have a European Championships in Baku. For one sport, we will have 20 European Championships taking place simultaneously over a 2-week period. So that's how the European Games differs from a European Championships. In terms of the Olympic Games, it's probably a lot more similar. Athletes will stay in a village. It's a multi-sport environment. The total number of athletes will be 6,000. But of course, the fundamental difference between the European Games and the Olympic Games is that the European Games is just open for European athletes, not the world. So there will be just European athletes taking part in the Games.
And so we know that you have many innovations and new sports were included in the agenda of the inaugural games. So how do you think which games will be more popular or most favorite among the sports community and fans?
In Azerbaijan, of course, we know the strong sports are wrestling, boxing, judo, karate, taekwondo, really the combat sports. So we know they'll be very popular among the local spectators and the local fans. But this is not just the Baku Games for Azerbaijan, this is the European Games, and each of the sports on the sports programme, all 20 sports, will have a big appeal towards a lot of the different various countries in Europe. We're expecting a large number of international spectators, and we're sure that our aim is to fill the stadiums. And what I can say to the citizens of Baku and the people of Azerbaijan is this is probably a once-in-your-lifetime opportunity to see this level of a sporting competition in your home city. The tickets went on sale 2 weeks ago. They're very, very reasonably priced at 2 and 3 monat. So it shouldn't be a situation that somebody says it's too expensive for me and my family. We would really encourage families to attend. And the great news is for families, children under 16 are free with an accompanying adult. So we would really urge the citizens of Azerbaijan to get into the venues, experience what a multi-sport games is like, and really make this a memory of your summer of 2015, which will last you forever.
What about the media coverage of these games?
Well, the media coverage has been fantastic. I can say, at this stage, with 2 months to go, the most successful aspect of the European Games has been the number of countries who have signed up to a broadcasting agreement. We have 45 or 46 countries in Europe have already signed up. But the really great thing for us is everywhere in North and South America, with the exception of Brazil, will show the European Games. CCTV in China will show the games. A number of Indian channels will show the games as well, and right down as far as Australia. So this, the Asian Games and the Pan American Games have taken place 50 years. This is the first European Games, and it has really excited the international sporting community and the international media.
What will be the main game to watch?
I'm biased because I'm responsible for the successful delivery of all 20 sports.
Sure.
If I was a local Baku citizen, I'm sure I'd be looking forward to wrestling, which takes place on the first day of competition on Saturday, June 13th, because I'm sure Baku will have a lot of success in wrestling. Boxing, which will take place in the Crystal Hall. And, for me, as a guy who's been living in Baku for 2 years, every time I see the Crystal Hall, people say to me, oh, that's where Eurovision took place. And what I want to happen after the European Games is, when you see the Crystal Hall, you say, oh, that's where 5 sports in the European Games took place. Because in this really iconic venue, we will have volleyball, boxing, karate, fencing and taekwondo. So it really is a chance for the normal man and woman in Azerbaijan and in Baku who may have never been in the Crystal Hall to go there and to actually see what it's like. And I would say it's the same thing about the National Stadium, the Olympic Stadium. We'll have the opening and closing ceremony taking place there, but also the athletic competition on the middle weekend. So it really is a chance of a lifetime, and I hope the people of Azerbaijan react in a positive way and ensure they grab this opportunity with both hands.
Do you plan a big opening session like the Olympics do, for example?
The opening ceremony will be a spectacular opening ceremony. What we can say is that the chairperson of the organising committee is the First Lady of the country, of the Republic, Mehriban Aliyeva. She's also taking a very big interest in the opening ceremony. It will be done on a very high level. We hope that all of Europe will stop on Friday, June the 12th to watch this ceremony, and we're sure all of Azerbaijan, the tickets are really, selling out very quickly. We're sure a ceremony will be created to make every single man and woman and child in Azerbaijan very proud of that ceremony and very proud to be Azeri.
Will it be televised live?
Yes, it will. It's every single host broadcaster will show the opening ceremony live, and of course it will be live on AZ TV as well.
So we are so passionate for the games here in Azerbaijan. So now I would like to, I know that this is a secret, but could you please tell us a little bit about the innovations? What will be the biggest surprise for all those who are so passionately waiting for the games?
Well, I think every single aspect of the European Games will be a surprise. For a start, there's 6,000 athletes and 3,000 team officials coming. So there's going to be 10,000 people living in the beautiful athletes' village right beside the Olympic Stadium and beside the Milli Gymnastic Arena. We will have probably 2,000 or 3,000 media representatives here. We will have a lot of international spectators. It's going to be very, very difficult to get a bed. I think when the places like the Baku Sports Hall, which used to be known as the Palace of Fan Games, the European Games Park, which is where the aquatics venue will be held. When the building is finally complete on those venues, I think every man and woman in Azerbaijan will feel a great sense of pride, because we know the European Games, one of the goals is to show the world what Azerbaijan is capable of. And I've no doubt that everybody will be surprised internationally, and I think even the local people will be surprised at how well organised the European Games is.
We expect that it will be very surprising for all those visiting, especially for all those who will be visiting Azerbaijan for the first time, and for all those who are waiting and who want to attend these inaugural games. But how do you think, how will it ultimately contribute to the development of the sports community here in Azerbaijan?
Well, I think it will contribute in so many ways. I think the primary way it will continue is the building of infrastructure. A brand new aquatics venue, a new national stadium for athletics and football, the Crystal Hall being turned into a sports venue. The Heydar Aliyev Arena has been renovated and is opening this week, and is the National Shooting Centre as well. President Aliyev opened up a number of weeks ago. So first of all, every young boy and girl in Azerbaijan who dreams about taking part in the Olympic Games can now see that they're heroes in their own city, taking part in sport in venues in their own city, and it will really inspire the next generation of stars from Azerbaijan to take up sport. And I think that's one of the key areas we would like to see happening as well, that more and more boys and girls in schools throughout Baku and throughout Azerbaijan would actually choose to be involved in sport. And I think that's always the big legacy of a major multi-sport games.
What was the major obstacle, or one of the major obstacles you had in preparing these games?
Well, I think this games, if it was taking place in Berlin or in London or in Paris, would have a number of obstacles, no different to Baku, because it's the first major multi-sport games which has ever taken place here. The venues, when the games were awarded in 2012, the National Stadium was already being built, the Aquatic Centre was already being built, but the June 12th opening ceremony is a deadline which can't slip. So no matter what delays happen, and delays happen on everything, the deadline was not movable for the opening ceremony. So from our side, the completion of venues has been a big challenge, but we're very happy to say, and I'm sure the citizens of Baku can see, all the venues are very much nearing completion, and you know, everything from our side, our point of view, is on track and on plan.
Piers, you are sports director for the inaugural games, and you just spoke about the infrastructure which is ready and which is partially ready, and it will be ready by the beginning of the event. So how do you think, and how is your feeling, can Azerbaijan be further honored to host such kind of sports events in future?
Well, I think there's no doubt that Azerbaijan will host other events. For example, we know they will have the Islamic Solidarity Games in 2017. We know they'll have Formula 1 in 2016 in the middle of the city. We know they will have some matches in the UEFA 2020 Championship. But also, we know the ambitions of the President and of the government to host an Olympic Games. We know we have bid for 2 Olympics so far. And I always use the example of Rio de Janeiro, who will have the Olympics in 2016. 9 years prior to 2016, they held the Pan American Games in 2007. So you don't have to be very good at your maths to understand that 9 years after 2015 is 2024, which is the next Olympic Games which will be awarded. So I think Azerbaijan and Baku will show the world what it's capable of doing and capable of achieving great things.
And your appeal to the sports community, why they should attend the inaugural games?
Well, you know, all sportsmen are inspired to create history. And one thing we can say is every single champion will be the first ever European Games champion in that sport. So we know the athletes of Europe are really, really keen to attend the first European Games. We also just want to give you a few statistics. There's 20 sports on the programme. Of those 20 sports, 16 of them are Olympic sports. And of the 16 Olympic sports, 12 of them in Baku will be qualification events for the Rio Olympics. So this means that all the top athletes in Europe must come to Baku and will want to come to Baku in order to achieve qualification for Rio. So I think from that point of view, it's really, really exciting, and it guarantees us that the best sportsmen in Europe will be in Baku in June.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the comments.
Thank you very much.
We're almost there. The countdown has begun for the European Games that have been anticipated for such a long time. We're almost there. We're counting days, hours.
Yes, we are counting the days. We are so passionate to see the inaugural games here in Baku.
Well, the athletes have been training hard, and they are going to continue their training right up until the day of the event. That's the way sports world works.
And this is a big holiday for athletes.
These games really matter. They count. They're going to be taken into consideration for the Olympics. So it's not just a friendly game or a friendly event that they're having here in Baku. It's the real thing.
What should we say to all those who are so passionately waiting for the games to come to Baku and watch the inaugural games?
Well, the games are almost here. We've started the countdown, 60 days to go and counting, 2 months from today, and the games will be on. So cheer up, Baku. Here we go.